It literally feels like this entire thing is written by the utility company to scare old people. They didn't say that their system wasn't working completely, and they're trusting the customer over the sales rep in the situation. This doesn't seem like really hard-hitting journalism as much as it is an advertisement for the utility. Hey everyone, it's Carlos Morales, and this is Real Sales Dynamics. We're going to be doing a quick reaction video to a recent Fox 5 I-Team investigation on solar scams. We're going to break down things that the solar rep did wrong, maybe some things that Fox said they were actually incorrect, and most importantly, what companies can do and what reps can do in order to prevent yourselves from getting set up in situations like this by selling the right and ethical way. So let's go ahead and get it done.
To the I-Team now, a hidden camera Fox 5 I-Team investigation takes the shine off some big promises made to Georgia homeowners about solar power.
Talk about frustrating. Some solar customers ended up spending even more for power than they did before.
You gotta love these local news segments where it's just, and then they ended up having to spend even more on power.
Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis shows you the right questions to ask.
What are the right questions, Robert?
Russ, according to sales ads to go solar are everywhere on social media. So we invited two of the bigger advertisers to a house outfitted with hidden cameras. And since both salespeople just recently started with those companies, we decided to show them to you this way.
All right, I'm excited, guys. They've set us up. They're going to be explaining to us just how devious these people are.
I've never worked anywhere that everybody's so happy.
Her happy employer is Power Home Solar, now changing its name to Pink Energy. Based in North Carolina, the largest home solar company in the Southeast.
Dead giveaway that this is probably not going to be a very good company is the fact they've already switched their name and they're a new company. A lot of companies do that in order to get away from litigation. We saw that with Vivint a while back and a couple other solar companies.
The cost for electricity and the cost for power are going up, and they're going up quickly.
He works for Solar Titan USA out of Knoxville, Tennessee, also making a big push into Georgia these days. But despite their upbeat sales pitches, both companies made promises to Georgia customers that quickly turned those smiles upside down.
It's not turned out to be
play with words.
They know it's not working, and they don't ever respond to anything.
Rod Culver agreed to pay Solar Titan USA $43,000 to outfit his Douglasville home, with the promise to give him backup power and reduce his electric bill.
It was supposed to go down about 80 or 90%.
We'll never know. According to the Douglas County building inspector, Solar Titan failed to pull a building permit to do the work. Without that permit, Culver can't hook up the system to the grid.
Okay, that's a first dead giveaway that you're having a massive issue, and this has been an issue that we've been finding in places like Texas and Florida where they're trying to shoot for incredibly quick installations. What they're doing is that they're assuming that they're going to be able to get permits on their projects, so they're installing prior to the permit actually being received. What you end up with whenever things like that happen is long times before panels are actually installed. And if you're working with loan providers who start charging customers, not when the system's turned on, but at a set date after they signed the paperwork, you're going to end up in a really bad situation because the customer ends up having to pay for the solar at the same time as they're paying for the utility, and they're not even receiving any net metering or energy production from the solar system. You're just going to have a pissed off customer.
It's a worthless system. It's not ever going to be running, and they want me to pay for it.
A spokesman for Solar Titan USA told us they did pull an electrical.
Okay, so one of the issues here though is they didn't explain how long it's been since he had the system on his house. So there are situations in which, let's say you install a customer, then it takes 2 cycles of inspectors depending on your counties in order to turn the system on. But again, if you have a good loan provider that you're working with and you guys know what you're doing with your paperwork, he's not going to get charged for anything. So he might be complaining and whatever right now, but that doesn't mean for sure that the system's never going to get turned on and then he's totally screwed over.
Permit, but didn't know Douglasville required a building permit too. They've called Culver to reach a resolution. He wants the system removed. Did the salesman tell you things that turned out not to be true?
Absolutely. Almost everything he said turned out to not be true.
Like how Amy and Nathan Tatro would be able to sell extra solar power back to their utility, thus giving the Lafayette couple a negative electric bill. Have you seen a negative power bill?
No, never.
Their Power Home solar system cost $91,000.
So one of the things they just said is that it is absolutely untrue if you produce extra power to be able to get money back from utilities. That is all dependent on the utility that you're dealing with. Some utilities actually will pay you back for excess power, either monthly or yearly. It is up to the sales representative in order to figure out the net metering laws in that area, or be working with a good company who goes ahead and checks the restrictions of the utilities in those markets, right? Like, you can prepare yourself, you can set yourself up well in any single market you are in if you're well educated, and that'll prevent you from getting in trouble like in these situations.
Financed over 25 years. Her North Georgia EMC bills have barely budged.
If I'd have known all this, I would have never made this decision. I would have just stayed with my regular old power company.
It's an understandable feeling. For some homeowners, solar power is a legitimate option if they want to try to cut back on rising energy costs. But many of them don't know the right questions to ask. Well, we do know the right questions, but listen to the answers we got. Power Home Solar decided not to use their happy salesperson to make the hard sell for us. Instead, we were patched in to speak virtually to Andrew, who said he was a senior account manager. So we're showing his face.
These are expensive systems. A lot of people think they're $5-10 grand, but really, we're eliminating a lifelong utility bill.
That's right, he said eliminate. To do that, Andrew quoted us $69,999.
That is wild, dude. You literally have a setter, and then you have a zoom in closer so that the setter can sit there and just go, okay, that sounds great, oh, okay. And then hopefully you get the deal. Jesus Christ, guys. All right, I understand some of your tactics out here, but that's just, ugh.
Later guaranteeing a 67% reduction in our power bill.
Worst case scenario is you'll have 23% of your bill left. But that really is probably going to be in the winter when we're not producing as much.
We had two local companies design solar systems for the same house, Creative Solar USA and Alternative Energy Southeast. Because of shade and the roof design, neither said it would reduce our utility bill by 67%, not even by 50%. But their cost was drastically lower than Power Home Solar's price.
And this is why it's good to get a number of quotes to compare, and then the truth serum comes out.
You also have one-to-one net metering, which is huge.
Andrew wrongly promised that we get full credit for every unused solar kilowatt.
That's not proof of anything. It's literally not proof of anything whatsoever. Yes, multiple install companies are going to give you different estimates prior to doing a site analysis on your house to check for shading, to check for azimuth, to check for everything involved with the actual project. So if you're going to go ahead and just say, oh, well, these other solar companies said this, therefore they're the ones that are true and accurate, is kind of BS. And it's not being accurate to the actual situation as a whole. Nevertheless, you can even be in a better situation if, let's say, you use an installer who has a production guarantee where they guarantee a set amount of production every single year. By the way, another thing they didn't mention there was what were the panel types? Because if one of the providers is offering a 400 watt panel and the other one's providing a 340 watt panel, then the production amount's going to be different. But, you know, whatever.
We sent to our electric company. It's called net metering and can reduce your electric bill dramatically.
You'll get bills in the summer, more likely, that say negative balances because in the summer we produce a lot more electric than we actually need.
But Walton EMC, the utility that services this home, doesn't offer net metering. Power Home Solar said it fired Andrew because what he told us did not act in accordance with our sales guidelines and trainings or our ethics. They also agreed to cancel Amy and Nathan's contract and take down their system, again citing a rather significant miscommunication by their sales rep.
It's almost going to be harder and harder to get solar in the next couple of years.
Solar Titan's recommended estimate.
Yeah, that's a problem. If you're promising net metering in the county and then they don't have net metering at all, you probably shouldn't actually be selling in that area, to be honest. It's not going to be a very good market. And what I can tell with this guy on his little Zoom call is that this dude's probably doing, 3-4 leads every 2 to 3 days in a bunch of different markets across the country, not being the actual local guy to know what's best, which is why it's kind of nice to actually move to your market and sell to those people where you can build that trust and get that information, because you're going to be better off in the long term rather than just trying to throw out your reel repeatedly out to all these different markets, and you're going to end up with a lot of really unhappy customers because you didn't know what the hell you were talking about.
For our house was almost as high, nearly $58,000. That's $345 a month for 20 years.
Am I still going to pay for power?
No, that's so with this is right here. You pay. This will take care of all of your usage.
Wow, that's pretty huge. They made a complaint, and then they pulled off the entire system, and it came out of the pocket of the solar installer. And from everything I'm seeing about the situation, the system is working properly, right? They didn't say that the system wasn't working completely. They're just saying that some sales rep may have said something, and they're trusting the customer over the sales rep in the situation. This doesn't seem like really hard-hitting journalism as much as it is an advertisement for the utilities. Because one of the things that they absolutely did say that was true, which they didn't comment on, was the utilities are going up. Some places 2%, some places 8% per year. And that compounds over time. So if you're gonna make some case that, oh, it's not gonna save you a certain amount of money, or if whatever market you're in, depending, in certain cases it actually can eliminate your utility bill, say for some grid charges potentially, right? Depending on your jurisdiction, I can just, it literally feels like this entire thing is written by the utility company to scare old people.
So this would be about 100% of your usage right now.
Randy Travis with Fox 5 News. We've had some complaints about your company, so we wanted to kind of hear how the sales pitch went.
Yeah.
How can you promise her that her power bill will have no consumption charge at all?
Ooh, someone's in trouble!
I'm not going to answer any questions from you, man. This is real uncomfortable for me.
Well, imagine the people who have been told that and they get power bills even after they've spent so much money on the system.
Yeah.
They'd be uncomfortable too, don't you think?
Well,
oh man, you're not gonna keep going with it? Dude, that was like the most interesting part of it. You literally set up the whole thing to get to that point, and then you take it away from us? So rude.
Well, Solar Titan USA told us none of their salespeople should be saying that their system will replace 100% of your power bill, and to do so is a firing offense. They said that they are not firing that salesman, they're just retraining him.
Well, to still have any kind of a bill after shelling out what you were quoted, almost $70,000, they should be pretty upfront about that. Sounds like you'll have more on this tomorrow night.
Yeah, both companies also promised that we'd be able to save a bunch of money by using a 26% tax credit, a federal tax credit. But that only works if you pay that much in federal taxes. And our producer told both companies that she was on disability. So we'll show you what happens tomorrow night.
All right, very interesting. Buyer beware, and you're helping us out. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Randy.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that this representative probably did wrong, depending on how they're guiding it, right? Because again, it's only the information that they've chosen to give us. Sounds like one of their advertisers, a utility company, probably another one's a pharmaceutical company. Anyway, if you're gonna promise a 26% tax credit, don't promise 26% tax credit. Listen, you don't need to fib about this, right? Let's say, for instance, that they spend, you're getting them a $15,000 tax credit, okay? $15,000 tax credit. You can ask them, hey, like, you know, how much are you actually spending in taxes a year? You're allowed to ask that question. It's a totally fine question. If they say it's $5,000, okay, cool. Or you can spread out the tax credit over the course of 3 years. It's not a big deal. If they're not paying anything in taxes, right, at all, they're not gonna get the tax credit. It's as simple as that, right? So look for other options maybe in your market where you might wanna be able to sell them a lease or a power purchase agreement, just depending. In those very specific situations, it might end up being a net benefit for them. Another thing that they were kind of fibbing on though was, and something that I'd like to get into a little bit more though, is the actual issue I'm having in solar right now that is massive, that is screwing us up, and that is representatives lying about the offsets that they can give to customers. What does that mean? Let's say they're using 20,000 kilowatts a year. That's how much energy they're using, right? And then you flag up a system. If you give them a system that produces 20,000 kilowatts, you're not gonna save them any money. So what do, little scam artist? You make a couple of adjustments in order to make it look like they use less power so you can cover 100% of their offset. Then you sell them that whole system. What happens then? What happens then is then you just cost this person a lot of money, and now they're not even seeing many savings on their utilities, plus you just threw a humongous loan on them. Now we can blame the representatives for this, right? And I will. Gung-ho, fire those people. That's a really effed up thing to do. It's also up to the actual solar installers to look at this stuff. People are as good as their incentives in most situations. So if the install wants to be able to fix this, from happening in the future, then all they have to do is double check the utility bill with what they sold them. That's it. It's not that hard. It's a really, really, really easy thing in order to check. If you double check that and the numbers are not accurate, then you say no go on this project. You just removed so many lawsuits, so many problems, so many issues in the future, simply preventing someone from being able to do something. Risk analysis is a huge portion of any large scale company. But a lot of these big installers are treating their companies the same way they treated them 10 years ago when they were tiny. And they didn't double check any of the things that got them there, because in their mind it's, well, I just made money right now, so it's not a big deal. Literally, you can do that little bit of a change and bam, you're done. Where they're not seeing any savings day one. Figure out another value proposition in order to get them to go forward. You're protecting this person massively from inflation. Utilities are going up, prices are going up, everything's going up. We are protecting you from all of these massive rate increases in the future, helping out their environment, adding equity to your property. If you're with a good installer, fixing up your roof, you're setting yourself up positively for the future. And I promise you, and I've seen scam solar guys fail so many times, lose their living because they wanted to get that one extra deal. It's not worth it. I've seen out here in Florida, I've seen in a bunch of other markets. You guys can go ahead and double check these representatives. Honestly, like a response to this, I'm glad that someone's talking about some of this stuff, but whenever you see these local news segments, most of what they're trying to do out there is just to try to get people riled up and to be afraid of the future. It's clickbait, guys. It's clickbait. And so in order to close it up, if you want to talk about corruption and scamming and everything else, go ahead and look at the history of the majority of utilities in America. Take a look at Enron real quick for you. As far as solar itself, it's great. I mean, we're seeing these massive amount of solar installations going up all across the country. And when we're in massive energy deficits in all these different states right now, solar is a great way for people to be able to not only help out the environment, but to help lower their overall cost of living, add equity to their homes, gain tax credit, getting some money back from the feds who just keep taking more and more and more and more. Overall, it's a huge net benefit for most people, but not all people. You guys don't need to fib in order to make millions of dollars. I promise. And if you guys want to be able to see more, check out more videos with Real Sales Dynamics. Make sure to click that subscribe button. We love it. We like seeing your guys' faces. We like seeing you guys in the comments. And of course, if you guys are looking for jobs out there in solar, go ahead and hit us up on Pacific United Power, Real Sales Dynamics on Instagram, and myself, the Wolf of Solar, on Instagram. And go ahead and click in one of these corners. YouTube thinks you're really gonna like it.